Hey, good morning, team. It is Tuesday, April 11th. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm here with Kevin Van Eck. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a fabulous topic this morning. We know a lot of you are working with buyers, so we're going to have a great conversation on how to do that really well. But first, we want to make sure that you have your coffee full as we jump into our Tuesday morning and our next episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
That's right. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, everyone. Yes, super important because we're working with buyers, but the market presents some challenges. So we're going to go back a little bit to the basics, tweaked for what the market is we're in today, to make sure that you can create success for the buyers who decide to engage with you, and you're able to take them from start to finish and generate referrals long term.
That's right. So let's talk about the first thing we want to focus on, and that is building rapport with your buyers. And I have talked to a lot of you, and I know a lot of you have multiple buyers right now that are kind of sitting on the sidelines trying to find something. But whether you've gotten them off of Zillow, from an open house, a referral from a past client, building rapport and setting the right expectation at the very beginning is so critical. Maybe even in this market now more than ever, right? We don't have a lot of inventory in some markets, not all, but in some markets, we know that buyers are out there really trying to compete with one another. So building rapport and setting the expectations of how you're going to work and how you're going to be different from other agents is so important. So it is building rapport, but it's also making sure that they really understand that you've got a process. We talk about this a lot when you're working with sellers, right? We have kind of the initial phone conversation from some of the classes that we offer, but you can really translate that idea to buyers as well. So let's say you do get an introduction to a buyer. Why not say, hey, I'm so excited to talk with you about the opportunity to help you find a house. Let me tell you how I work. That is so critical, using that phrase, making them understand that you've done this before and that you've got a process, especially now, because what we are seeing with a lot of agents and a lot of buyers out there is you take a buyer out, you've seen a couple of properties, maybe even put some offers in, and there is suddenly them feeling like they're not seeing success with you. Now, it isn't necessarily your fault. Odds are it's really the market, but what are we seeing is happening right now? If they feel like you're not creating success, they get nervous and they do what?
Well,
they decide, they blame it on you, and then they start looking maybe at another agent, right? Mm-hmm. But the other agent may not have the same success either. So what do you need to do? You need to build rapport, show them that you have a process, and take control. And the best thing that you can do is make sure that you meet with them before you get them in your car. Let's have a quick 30-minute meeting, and I would encourage you to have it at the office. When they walk through the front door, you're going to have your front desk staff say, Bob and Susie, you're here to meet Amy. She's expecting you. Would you like a cup of water or some coffee before we take you into the conference room? From that very minute, they see you as a professional. So set the tone. How you begin the relationship is how you may successfully end the relationship.
Yeah, that's great. Super necessary, right? So number two, we're going to talk about after you have this meeting set, what do you do during the meeting? So during the meeting, it's your opportunity to figure out what the problem is. You can't solve a problem without knowing the problem. So that's the goal here. When we talk about a problem, it means what are they looking for? The problem is they want to find a new residence. They have a residential real estate need. We got to figure that out. The best thing you can do is ask a lot of questions, right? And we've provided a guide. There's a link in the email where you receive this, where you can find the questions we suggest, and a lot of that comes from Ninja. So you can take a look at that. But what do the questions do? Number one, it continues building rapport. And building rapport and continuing to build rapport is really important so they feel like you two are connected, and also so that they feel like this is collaborative. Mm-hmm. So asking questions allows them and makes them feel good, but allows them to convey to you what they're looking for. Now, the questions also are going to dig deeper. We know there's limited inventory. We know that a lot of times buyers have a very narrow focus on what they're looking for. Beds, baths in a specific community, and maybe some needs, a backyard, 3-car garage, whatever it might be. In asking the questions we're providing, it's going to allow you to open more doors. When it comes to inventory, if it's in a different market or a different community or a different size or type of home, if you understand the why they're looking for specific attributes in a home, it allows you to find properties they may not be thinking about that would fit their needs. And then lastly, it comes down to when you're asking questions and you're sitting in the meeting, it really allows you to set up a timeline for understanding what their motivation is. Because we've all had it before, whether it's sellers or buyers, and they say, we're in no rush. Well, you could be searching for properties for them for 4 years if there's no motivation and there's no goal. So how do you set up that timeline? It's by asking them magic wand. If they don't have a specific timeline, like being in a school district by a certain time or relocating for work, you can set it up by saying, well, what would be the perfect time in your mind? What would be the ideal situation? When would you be in your new property? And now that allows you to direct back to that when things are going off track. And one more thing, I said lastly, this is lastly now. We've all been in a situation where there are partners or spouses. This meeting allows you to make sure that you have both decision makers in the room.
Very
you
important.
ask them both questions, and you ensure that they are aligned so that things don't get derailed down the road when they can't agree.
Yeah, so important. And, I think the big thing about this meeting too is, you're learning a lot about them and deciding, is this a buyer that I want to work with?
Right.
We have to remember that it is a mutual option to be able to work together. And I think sometimes we always feel like we're being interviewed, yes, but it's also making sure, can I create success? Are these people realistic, or are they going to be a waste of my time? The sooner that you can figure that out versus 9 months in a car with them and suddenly realizing it, you don't get those hours back. So this pre-buyer interview, before they go out and see anything, you really assessing who they are and how you can create success for them is really important. And the third thing about this and what it's going to allow you to do is it's also going to help you to outline your process. So Kevin talks a lot about this, all the questions that you're going to ask, which are really important. You want to do information gathering. Make sure you understand who it is that you are working with, what their expectations are. Once you figure that out, though, this is also an opportunity for you to say, this is how I work. Let me share my process with you. Because one of the scariest things for buyers or sellers when they go through buying or selling a home is not knowing what's going to happen next. And when they don't know that, they get very anxious and very fearful. If you're able to outline the process, show them the timeline, not just what happens when we get into a car, we put an offer in on a home, but everything else that's going to happen to actually get them to closing. You being able to help them know that you have done this before, you're going to be able to anticipate what's going to happen. You're also going to be able to redirect any of the concerns and the fears because you're having the conversation right now about what to expect before it happens. So I love that you're having this interview because you get to know, is this somebody that I'm going to be able to create success for? But you're also going to be able to outline how you work and get buy-in so that they are more committed. Kevin and I talk a lot about getting that buyer brokerage agreement signed. We really encourage that. But if you don't, taking these steps is going to help them recognize that you are the person that they need to work with and that they don't need to shop around, that you're going to be able to create success because you know the market, you're connected with things not on the market, and you're able to explain all of that before you even get them in the car. So take the time up front. We talk a lot about sometimes going slow in order to go fast. If you take the time and go a little bit slower to really vet your buyers, make sure that they understand what is going to happen and what the market's like as they go into trying to find a home, you're going to see much greater success and a lot more loyalty with the people that you're working with.
So true. And the loyalty right now in working with those buyers, and then long term, they have something to share with their friends, colleagues, neighbors, everybody about what it was like to work with you. That's different than what those people had experienced with their agent more than likely.
Yep.
So you're creating long-term referrals simply by being and professionalizing your process and being able to communicate it and articulate it.
Yep, super important. So don't take shortcuts. Go slow to go fast.
Yes.
Make sure that these buyers realize how amazing you are and why they have to work with you. So we hope you found some great tips. Take a look at the questions we've attached in this email. Make it a great Tuesday. Until we see you next week, though, remember, you got this.